Hello, my friend. Come on in, pull up a chair, and let me talk to you the way I talk to every patient who sits across from my old wooden desk here in Sarasota. I'm Dr. Hope. I turned 86 this past April, and I've been blessed to practice medicine for almost 50 years now. I still see folks every single day, sometimes 20 or 30 of them. Because as long as the good Lord gives me strength, I'm going to keep doing what I've always done, helping good people like you hold on to the life you've worked so hard for. Every week, someone new walks through that door with the same quiet fear in their eyes. They lean forward, lower their voice, and say, "Dr. Hope, I'm scared I'm going blind." They tell me how they've started leaving the porch light on all night just to find their way to the mailbox. How they pretend they're too tired to drive to evening card club, when the truth is the oncoming headlights look like exploding fireworks. How they hold the birthday cards from their grandchildren farther and farther away until the words disappear completely. And almost every single time, there are tears. Because losing your sight feels like losing your freedom, your memories, everything that makes these golden years worth living. 3 summers ago, a lady named Gloria came to see me. She was 68, retired after 32 years driving a school bus right here in Florida. She hadn't been behind the wheel after dark in over 2 years. She missed choir practice on Wednesdays, missed seeing her grandbabies' faces light up when she walked into Thanksgiving dinner. And every morning, she woke up feeling like someone had poured sand in her eyes. She'd already spent a small fortune on drops, special glasses, and every bottle with the word vision on the label at CVS. Nothing worked. One afternoon, she sat right where you're sitting now and asked me, "Is this just what getting old feels like?" I looked her in the eye and said, "Gloria, your eyes aren't done yet. They still want to heal, but nobody ever told you they do most of their healing while you're asleep." That day, we changed one simple thing, what she put on her plate in the evening. 8 weeks later, she walked back into my office holding a hymn book, opened it under my regular old lamp, and read every word without squinting. Last month, she sent me a picture of herself in the driver's seat, heading to her grandson's night game, smiling bigger than I've ever seen her smile. Friends, the latest research from the National Eye Institute and some of the finest universities in the country confirms what I've watched happen in my own patients for years. Your eyes are designed to repair themselves every single night while you sleep, but only if you give them the gentle, natural nourishment they're starving for at exactly the right time. Tonight I'm going to share the 8 simple bedtime foods my patients over 65 rely on, the easy 10-minute routine we do right before lights out, and the gentle 7-day plan you can start tomorrow that has brought clearer mornings and brighter evenings to hundreds of folks just like you and Gloria. So if you're ready to wake up to eyes that feel rested instead of gritty, to read the cereal box without moving it 6 inches from your nose, to feel safe and confident behind the wheel when the sun goes down, stay with me. And please, right now, do this tired old doctor a favor. Drop one quick line in the comments and tell me the eye trouble that worries you most. I'll be reading every single one with my coffee tomorrow morning, and I promise I'll answer as many as these old hands can type. Now, let's begin with the truth most eye doctors never take time to explain. Come sit with me a minute, just like you would in my office. I want you to understand exactly why your eyes have started acting up. Because once you see the whole picture, you'll realize this isn't some irreversible curse of old age. It's 4 quiet changes that sneak up on every one of us after 65, and every single one of them can be helped, gently and naturally. The first thing that happens is the blood flow to the back of your eye starts to slow down. Imagine the retina as a beautiful garden full of axa, delicate flowers. Those are your light-sensing cells. When we were younger, blood rushed in like a strong garden hose, carrying oxygen and nutrients every second. But by the time most folks reach 70, that hose has quietly narrowed. Studies using special cameras show that many of my patients have 30, sometimes 40% less blood getting to those precious cells than they did at 40 or 50. Less blood means less oxygen, and those little flowers start to wilt first at the edges. That's why the porch light looks dimmer. Why the television seems darker even when your spouse says it's bright enough. The second change is even more heartbreaking when you see it under the microscope. Inside every one of those light-sensing cells are thousands of tiny power plants called mitochondria. They're the reason you can spot a deer crossing the road at dusk or find your grandchild's face in a crowded school play. Starting around 65, those power plants begin to wear out and die off. It's not dramatic. It happens one by one, quietly, over years. And the very first thing you notice is that dusk doesn't look like dusk anymore. It looks like night has already fallen. Contrast fades. Faces blend together. That's not you getting old. That's those power plants asking for help. The third change makes me the saddest, because it's the one we did to ourselves without even knowing. For decades, we trusted the food industry when they told us margarine was better than butter, that vegetable oil was heart-healthy, that a donut and coffee was a fine breakfast. All those processed seed oils, corn oil, soybean oil, canola, and the sugar most of us grew up on create a slow, smoldering inflammation throughout the whole body. And the macula, that little bullseye in the center of your retina that you use for reading, driving, and seeing smiles, gets hit the hardest. I've looked at thousands of retinas in my career, and I can promise you this: the more birthday cakes and French fries in someone's past, the more tiny scars I see in that macula. It's like a lifetime of little campfires burning too close to the tent. And the fourth change is the one nobody saw coming. 20 years ago, blue light. Every evening we sit with our tablets, our phones, our big screen TVs, bathing our eyes in that harsh blue glow until the moment we turn off the light. That light disrupts the daily recycling of a pigment called rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is what lets owls and us, when we're young, see in near darkness. When it can't recycle properly because we've been staring at screens, we wake up the next day with eyes that feel tired before we even open them. It's like trying to start your car with a half-charged battery day after day. Now, I know that sounds discouraging. I've had patients sit right here and start crying when I explain it. But please listen to the rest, because this is where the miracle lives. Every single night, between roughly 10 at night and 6 in the morning while you're sound asleep, your body goes into repair mode. Blood flow to the retina actually increases during deep sleep. Inflammation naturally drops. Those tired mitochondria get a chance to clean house and rebuild. The recycling of rhodopsin is supposed to happen in the dark, and when the room is finally quiet and black, that's exactly when the repair crews get to work. I've spent the last 50 years watching this repair process in action. When we give the eyes the exact nutrients they need in the 2 or 3 hours before bed, when digestion is winding down and the liver is sending everything straight to where it's needed most. Those overnight crews don't just patch things up, they rebuild. I've seen maculas thicken again on the scanning machines. I've seen night vision come back so clearly that patients call me from the parking lot of their church, saying, "Dr. Hope, I just read the street sign from 2 blocks away, and it's pitch dark." This isn't wishful thinking. This is what the National Eye Institute has been documenting for the last decade. Sleep isn't just rest for your eyes. It's their nightly construction shift. And just like any construction crew, they can only build with the materials you leave on the job site. In just a moment, I'm going to show you the 8 simple, gentle foods, most of them already in your kitchen, or easy to find at Publix or Walmart that my patients use to stock that job site every night. These aren't expensive supplements or fancy drops. They're real foods, prepared the way your grandmother might have, that deliver the exact building blocks your eyes are begging for while you sleep. So take a deep breath with me. What you're experiencing isn't the end of the story. It's the page where the healing finally begins. Let's turn it together, starting with the food that surprised every single one of my patients when they learned it was one of nature's as powerful eye medicines. All right, my friend, now that you understand why your eyes are asking for help at night, let me take you by the hand and walk you through the 8 foods that have become absolute lifesavers in my practice. I'm going to count them down from 8 to 1, just like I do when I sit with a patient and we decide what to try first. Each one comes with a real person I've cared for. Because numbers on a screen don't move the heart the way a neighbor's smile coming back does. We'll start with number 8, the humble sweet potato. Now, I know what you're thinking, Dr. Hope. Sweet potatoes are for Thanksgiving. Well, Harold Thompson taught me different. Harold is 72, retired from the post office after 41 years walking the same route in Bradenton. One day, he showed up with a grocery bag of sweet potatoes he'd grown himself and said, "Doc, my wife says I'm burning out light bulbs faster than we can buy them because I keep turning on every lamp in the house to read the mail." I told him to bake 1 medium sweet potato skin and all at 350 for about 45 minutes. Drizzle it with a teaspoon of good olive oil or melted butter, and eat it slowly about an hour and a half before bedtime. 6 weeks later, his wife Marlene called me crying happy tears. Harold was standing at the microwave across the kitchen and read the digital clock clear as day without his glasses. Sweet potatoes are one of the richest natural sources of beta-carotene. Your body quietly turns into vitamin A while you sleep. And that vitamin A is the very thing your retina uses to rebuild the pigment that lets you see when the lights are low. Number 7 is wild-caught salmon, the beautiful pink fish from Alaska. Margaret was 69 and proud of her thriftiness. She'd been buying the cheaper farmed salmon for years. When her ophthalmologist showed her the first signs of macular thinning, she came to me in a panic. We switched her to 4 ounces of wild sockeye twice a week for supper, baked simply with lemon and a little salt, finished eating by 7:30. 4 months later, that same specialist called me himself to say her macular pigment had increased by 25%. The DHA in wild salmon rebuilds the walls of every light-sensing cell, and the astaxanthin that's what makes it so pink acts like built-in sunglasses against inflammation. Margaret now grills salmon on her little George Foreman and tells everybody at the senior center it's her eye medicine. Number 6 might be new to some of you goji berries. I keep a jar right on my desk and hand a small handful to nearly every patient walking out the door. They're tiny, they're sweet tart, and they're worth their weight in gold for your macula. Just 1 ounce soaked in warm water for 10 minutes or stirred into plain Greek yogurt about an hour before bed delivers more zeaxanthin than almost any other food on earth. That zeaxanthin parks itself right in the center of your retina and filters harmful light like a permanent pair of battle sunglasses. I've had dozens of patients tell me colors look brighter within a couple of weeks. Number 5 is one folks argue with me about until they try it: organic pasture-raised egg yolks. Yes, the yolks. Please don't throw them away. Eggs from hens that actually get to walk in sunshine and eat bugs and greens have 5 to 10 times more lutein and zeaxanthin than supermarket eggs. 2 soft scrambled yolks cooked low and slow so they stay creamy 3 evenings a week gave 77-year-old Dorothy her sewing back. She walked in one day holding a tiny needle between her fingers and said, "Dr. Hope, I threaded this on the first try. Haven't done that since Reagan was president." Number 4 is bilberries the deeper, darker European cousin of our blueberries. World War II pilots ate bilberry jam to sharpen their night vision, and the research still holds up beautifully. A quarter cup of frozen organic bilberries, thawed and eaten plain or lightly mashed, helped Frank, an 81-year-old Korean War veteran, finally see the faces on his television clear across the living room. He told me with tears in his eyes, "I can watch my war documentaries again without leaning forward like an old fool." Number 3 is black currants, hard to find fresh in most states. But frozen puree or seed oil works wonders. The anthocyanins in black currants strengthen the tiniest blood vessels feeding the retina. 1 tablespoon of puree stirred into full-fat cottage cheese. Before bed dropped Nancy's eye pressure 4 points in 3 months and took away that constant feeling of pressure behind her eyes. Number 2 is real saffron, those precious red threads, not the cheap powdered stuff, 15 to 20 threads steeped in 4 ounces of warm milk cow. Almond, whatever you like with a touch of honey. Sipped slowly about 60 minutes before bed. Maria, 74. Told me after 6 weeks that the world went from sepia to Technicolor. She could see the difference between her navy and black slacks again without holding them up to the window. And the number 1 food my patients are always shocked by until they try it is raw cacao. Not the Dutch processed cocoa in the baking aisle, but real organic raw cacao powder. 2 level tablespoons whisked into 6 ounces of warm cashew or almond milk with just a pinch of cinnamon. 45 minutes before bed. The flavanols open up blood flow to the retina dramatically overnight. Robert, 82. A retired Delta pilot who hadn't passed an eye chart in years, called me from the DMV parking lot laughing and crying at the same time. "Doc, I read the bottom line. They renewed my license. No restrictions." He still drinks his cacao every single night and swears it turned the dimmer switch back up on his whole world. These 8 foods aren't magic, but when you choose even 1 or 2 and enjoy them in the evenings a way your eyes can actually use them, you're giving those overnight repair crews the very best tools money can buy, and most of them cost less than a cup of coffee. Now, before I let you go try any of these tonight, I want to share the simple 10-minute routine I give every patient on their way out the door. It takes almost no effort, costs nothing, and multiplies everything these foods can do while you sleep. Come a little closer, dear. This next part is the quiet secret that turns good results into wonderful ones. After 49 years of sending people home with diets and drops and fancy bottles, I finally realized the most powerful thing I hand my patients costs exactly nothing and takes only 10 minutes. Every single person who walks out of my office gets the same little folded sheet of paper I typed up myself. I call it Dr. Hope's Bedtime Eye Hug, because that's exactly what it feels like, a gentle hug for eyes that have worked hard all day. Let me tell you about Evelyn. She's 79, lives alone in a little apartment off Fruitville Road. And for years, her mornings started with tears, literally. She'd wake up and her eyelids would be glued shut with crusty dryness. Eye drops helped for an hour. Then she was back to blinking sandpaper. When I gave her this routine, she called me 3 weeks later and said, "Dr. Hope, I woke up this morning and opened my eyes like I was 25 again. No pulling, no stinging, just soft." That phone call is why I still keep a stack of those handouts on my desk. Here's exactly what we do, and I want you to picture yourself doing it tonight. First, right after you've enjoyed whichever bedtime food we talked about, whether it's the warm cacao drink or the baked sweet potato, Go into your bathroom and run a clean washcloth under warm water, as warm as your wrist can stand without turning red. Wring it out well. Fold it into a nice soft rectangle and lay it across both closed eyes while you sit or lie back for 10 minutes. That's all. 10 quiet minutes. No phone, no television, just you and the gentle warmth. What's happening is beautiful. Inside your eyelids are tiny glands called meibomian glands that make the oil layer of your tears. Over the years, they get thick and clogged, like old pipes. That warm compress melts the oil so it flows again. And when you open your eyes in the morning, your tear film is smooth and complete instead of patchy and gritty. The American Academy of Ophthalmology says this one simple step prevents more dry eye suffering than all the drops in the drugstore combined. Evelyn now keeps 2 washcloths on her nightstand, so one is always ready. She says those 10 minutes have become her favorite part of the day, like a little spa visit with Jesus. Second, when you take the cloth off, stay sitting on the edge of the bed and give your eyes a 2-minute visual reset. Rub your palms together briskly until they're nice and warm. You'll feel the heat. Then cup them lightly over your closed eyes without pressing. Let the darkness and the warmth soak in for about 30 seconds. This is called palming, and it was taught by an eye doctor 100 years ago who noticed it relaxes the tiny muscles that have been staring at screens and street signs all day. Then, keeping your head still, hold your thumb about 6 inches from your nose and slowly shift your focus from the thumb to something across the room, maybe the dresser or the window, then back to the thumb. Do that 5 gentle times. After that, with eyes still closed, slowly circle them 10 times clockwise and 10 times the other way, like you're tracing a big, lazy clock on the ceiling. Finish by opening your eyes and blinking softly a few times. I had a retired school principal named Walter who swore his distance vision got fuzzy because he spent 60 years looking at blackboards and children's faces up close. After 2 months of this 2-minute reset every night, he walked into my office, pointed out the window at the license plate on a car across the parking lot, and read it perfectly. He laughed and said, "Dr. Hope, I think my eyes just needed permission to relax." And the third step is the easiest of all, yet the hardest for some folks, lights out by 11 if you can manage it. I know grandkids call late and the news is on, but rhodopsin, that night vision pigment we talked about earlier, does its heaviest rebuilding between midnight and 4 in the morning. Every hour of sleep before midnight truly is worth 2 after. I'm not asking you to become a monk, just to give your eyes those precious early morning hours when the repair crews work overtime. When you put these 3 things together, the 10-minute warm compress, the 2-minute reset, and an earlier bedtime, you're doing for your eyes what a long hot bath and a good stretch do for a tired back. The foods we talked about deliver the building materials, and this routine clears the construction site so the work can happen peacefully while you sleep. I've watched hundreds of patients turn the corner with just this routine, even before they perfect the foods. One widow told me she hadn't slept with the bedroom door closed in years because she was afraid she wouldn't see well enough if she had to get up in the night. After 3 weeks of the warm compress and palming, she closed that door for the first time in a decade and slept like a baby. Now, some of you are already doing parts of this and wondering, "Dr. Hope, is there anything else I should add from the drugstore?" I'm glad you asked, because there are 3 supplements I actually recommend to my own children and grandchildren. And I want to tell you exactly when they help and when they don't, so you don't waste a penny. Come on in a little closer now, because this is the part where I get to talk to you like you're sitting at my kitchen table after supper. You've heard me go on about real food and simple routines, and that's because 95 times out of 100, that's all most folks ever need. But there are 3 supplements I keep in my own medicine cabinet, The same ones I buy for my daughter in Atlanta and my grandkids up in North Carolina. And I want you to know exactly why, when, and how we use them here in the real world. First is the Airy-Dapsu formula. You've probably seen the commercials or the big bottles at Costco. It's not for everybody, and I'm careful about that. The National Eye Institute spent over 10 years and millions of dollars proving that this exact combination, vitamins C and E, zinc, copper, lutein, and zeaxanthin, can slow advanced macular degeneration by about 25%, but only in people who already have moderate to severe changes. I never start anyone on it until I've looked at their retina photos myself. If your macula still looks pretty good, and most of my patients do when they first come in, the regular foods we talked about give you the same nutrients in gentler doses without the high zinc that can upset some stomachs. But when the scans show those telltale yellow spots starting to grow, AREDS2 is like putting an extra guardrail on a winding road. I had a patient named Ruth, 81, whose ophthalmologist in Tampa told her she'd be legally blind in 5 years. We started the AREDS2 along with the bedtime foods and routine, and 3 years later, her spots have actually shrunk a little. She still drives herself to the beauty shop every Thursday. That's why I keep a bottle in the house. Second is algae-based DHA. Now, I love wild salmon as much as the next person, but some folks just can't eat fish twice a week. Maybe the smell, maybe the cost, maybe allergies. Years ago, I had a lady named Barbara who turned her nose up at anything that swam. Her blood tests showed almost no omega-3s at all, and her retinas were starting to look pale and thin. We put her on a clean algae oil 500 mg of DHA, a with breakfast, and 6 months later, her retinal specialist called me personally to ask what in the world we were doing. The membranes of her light-sensing cells had thickened and colored up beautifully. Algae oil is what the fish eat to make their DHA in the first place, so it's purer, no mercury, no fishy burps, and it's plant-based for anyone who prefers that. I take one myself on the days I don't have salmon, and I sleep easier knowing my own eyes are getting what they need. And the third one surprises almost everybody, plain old vitamin D3 with magnesium glycinate at bedtime. You'd think living in the Sunshine State we'd all be dripping with vitamin D, but I test every patient, and 42% come back low, even the ones who garden and golf. Low vitamin D is quietly linked to everything from dry eye to poorer night vision to faster cataract growth. I put people on 2,000 units of D3, the soft gel kind, with a little oil in it for better absorption, along with 200 to 300 mg of magnesium glycinate right before bed. The magnesium helps the D work better and, as a lovely bonus, relaxes the muscles and gives the best sleep most folks have had in years. I started my neighbor Tom on this combination last winter. He's 75, a retired contractor who spent his life outdoors, and his level was still only 18. 3 months later, it was 48. His eyes stopped feeling gritty every morning, and he told his wife the streetlights didn't look so hazy anymore. He jokes that he's sleeping like a hibernating bear and seeing like an eagle. These 3 are the only supplements I ever recommend without hesitation, because I've watched them make a real difference when the food and routine need a little extra support. I don't make a dime off any of them. I buy mine at the same stores you do, and I'm careful to tell folks exactly when they're helpful and when they're not necessary. Your eyes don't need a pharmacy full of bottles. They just need the right tools at the right time. Now, before you reach for your purse or wallet, let me save you some heartache. There are 5 common evening habits I see over and over that quietly undo every good thing we've talked about tonight. If you'll let me, I want to walk you through them gently so you can stop them starting this very evening. Come sit right here beside me for a minute. Because this is the part where I have to be the friend who loves you enough to tell you the truth, even when it stings a little. Over the years, I've watched so many good people do everything I ask, eat the salmon, drink the cacao, do the warm compress, and then wonder why the improvement stops halfway. 9 times out of 10, it's because one of these 5 evening habits is sneaking in like a thief and stealing the repair work. Their eyes are trying so hard to do while they sleep. I'm not going to scold you. Lord knows I've been guilty of a couple of these myself. I just want you to see them clearly so you can gently close the door on them starting tonight. The first one breaks my heart every single time scrolling on the phone or tablet in bed. I had a patient named Charles, 78, proud Korean War Marine, tough as nails. He was doing beautifully with the bedtime foods and the warm compress, but every night he'd watch baseball highlights on his iPad right up until he nodded off. 3 months in, his progress flatlined. When I asked to see his bedroom, there was that glowing screen on the nightstand like a little blue campfire. That light pours straight through your eyelids, yes, even when they're closed, and tells your brain it's high noon. Rhodopsin, the night vision pigment we talked about, can't recycle properly. So you wake up with eyes that still feel tired from yesterday. Charles switched to an old-fashioned wind-up clock radio and paperbacks under a soft yellow bulb. 6 weeks later, he came in grinning Doc. I can see the pitcher's face on TV now, instead of just a blur. Put the phone in another room tonight. Sweetheart. Charge it in the kitchen. Your eyes will thank you by morning. Second is the late-night ice cream or cookies bowl. Oh, I know how comforting that feels after a long day. My own wife used to keep a pint of butter pecan in the freezer for emergencies. But sugar after 8 o'clock lights a tiny fire in your bloodstream that keeps smoldering all night long. And the retina is one of the first places that fire shows up. I had a lady named Betty who was the queen of a bedtime bowl of chocolate chip. Her morning dryness was terrible, and her macular pigment just wouldn't thicken no matter what we tried. When she bravely switched to a small square of 85% dark chocolate with a few almonds instead, her eyes stopped waking her up at 3 a.m. with that gritty feeling, and 3 months later, her scans looked years younger. If you need something sweet, let it be one of the bedtime foods we talked about. The cacao drink satisfies that craving beautifully. Third is coffee or sweet tea after 3 in the afternoon. I'm preaching to the choir here. I was a 3-cup-a-day man until I turned 80. Caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 8 hours, so that 4 o'clock cup is still dancing in your bloodstream at midnight, keeping you from the deep sleep where most retinal repair happens. I had a gentleman named Roy who swore his afternoon sweet tea was the only thing getting him through the news. When he switched to decaf or herbal, he loves peppermint now. He started sleeping past 4:30 a.m. for the first time in years, and his night-driving confidence came roaring back. Your eyes do their heaviest construction between midnight and 4. Don't send the crew home early. Fourth is falling asleep with the television on. I hear this one all the time, Dr. Hope. It's just background noise. But even with the screen turned away, that flickering light leaks through your eyelids and tricks your brain into thinking the sun is coming up every few minutes. I had a widow named Lorraine who slept with the TV on for company after her husband passed. Her rhodopsin levels were almost non-existent. We got her a little CD player with soft hymns instead. And within a month, she was waking up with eyes that felt moist and rested. She told me, I still hear his favorite songs, but now my eyes get to rest too. And the fifth one is those pretty eye health gummies you see at every checkout counter. They look harmless little orange fish or berries, but most have maybe 2 milligrams of lutein when your macula really needs 20 or more to make a difference. I tested a dozen brands for my patients, and almost all were sugar bombs with token amounts of the good stuff. People spend $30 a bottle and wonder why nothing changes. Save your money for real food and the few supplements we talked about earlier if you need them. These 5 habits are like leaving the windows open in a rainstorm after you've just mopped the floor. All the good you're doing gets washed away before morning. The beautiful thing is, once you close those windows, the improvement comes so fast you'll feel it in days. Now, I'm not going to leave you wondering how to put all this together. I want you to wake up tomorrow knowing exactly what to do. So pull out a piece of paper or your phone notes, because I'm going to give you the gentle 7-day reset plan I hand every patient. It's only 7 days, but I've seen it change lives in a week. Darling, this is the page I want you to print out, stick on your refrigerator, and hand to your daughter when she asks what you're doing different. It's only 7 days. 7 gentle, doable days that have started more. I can't believe this is happening to me. Phone calls than anything else in my entire career. Let me tell you about Leonard and Joyce, a couple married 58 years who came in together because neither one wanted the other to feel alone in this. They promised me they'd follow this little plan to the letter, and I want you to hear what happened to them as we walk through it day by day. Monday is raw cacao night, and we finish with the warm compress. Leonard said he felt silly the first time he whisked 2 tablespoons of raw cacao into warm almond milk with a pinch of cinnamon. But by Wednesday morning, he woke up, and the first thing he noticed was that the red numbers on his alarm clock weren't fuzzy anymore. Joyce said the warm cloth felt like the coziest thing she'd done for herself in years. That one evening alone gave them both softer, clearer mornings. Tuesday, we bring in the wild salmon supper and 2 pasture-raised egg yolks for dessert. Joyce pan-seared the salmon with lemon and a little butter, then soft scrambled those deep orange yolks. Leonard laughed and told me later, "Doc, I haven't cleaned my plate that fast since 1965. By Friday, he was reading the newspaper at the breakfast table without moving it closer and closer to his nose. Wednesday is the easiest of all. 1 ounce of goji berries soaked 10 minutes in warm water, stirred into plain Greek yogurt, and then the 2-minute palming routine on the edge of the bed. Joyce said she fell asleep with her palms still warm over her eyes and woke up Thursday feeling like someone had turned the brightness up on the whole world. Colors at the grocery store looked richer than they had in a decade. Thursday evening, we make the saffron milk. I told them to use 15 to 20 good red threads, not the yellow stuff steeped in warm milk with just a drop of honey. Leonard said it tasted like Christmas, and Joyce noticed the next morning that her eyes didn't feel tight anymore when she put her makeup on under the bathroom light. She even cut back on the magnifying mirror. Friday is blackcurrant night. They found frozen puree online, 1 heaping tablespoon stirred into cottage cheese, and then the slow eye circles while sitting in their recliners. Joyce told me she actually felt the muscles around her eyes loosen, like a fist finally opening after years of being clenched. Saturday, we go back to the simple baked sweet potato with the skin on, drizzled with olive oil, and a firm commitment to lights out by 10:30. Leonard said he slept 9 hours straight for the first time since retiring, and when he woke up Sunday morning, he walked out to get the newspaper off the driveway and realized he could read the headline from the porch without his glasses. He just stood there in his robe, paper in hand, tears running down his cheeks. Sunday is the Lord's Day, and for Leonard and Joyce it became celebration day. No special food, just plenty of water, maybe a quiet walk holding hands, and time to notice how different their eyes already felt. Joyce called me Monday morning and said, "Dr. Hope, we're not the same people who walked into your office 2 weeks ago. We feel hopeful again." That's exactly what this 7-day reset is meant to do. Give your eyes a taste of what life can feel like when you finally stop fighting them and start feeding them, resting them, loving them the way they've loved you all these years. You don't have to be perfect. If all you manage is 3 or 4 of these days, you'll still feel the shift. But if you'll trust me for 1 short week, I believe with all my heart you'll wake up next Monday morning, look around your bedroom in that soft early light, and whisper thank you to eyes that suddenly feel a little younger, a little stronger, a little more like yours again. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with something that means the world to me. A few parting words from an old doctor who's watched miracles happen in ordinary kitchens and quiet bedrooms all across this country.